also found many bags of information. I think they call them burn bags. They're supposed to be burned and they didn't get burned, having to do with how corrupt the 2020 election was. And when will that all come out?
Mr. President, I will be the first to brief you once we have that information collected, but you're right, we are finding documents literally tucked away in the back of safes in random offices in these bags and in other areas, which again speaks to the intent of those who are trying to hide the truth from the American people and trying to cover up the politicization that was led by people like John Brennan and James Clapper and others that have caused really immeasurable harm to the American people.
Picture this. Gavin Newsom fussing with his hair gel like it's the centerpiece of California's budget. When suddenly Tulsi Gabbard glides in like a political ninja ming, the spotlight straight at his marriage. In an instant, the conversation shifts from state taxes to state drama. And jaws hit the floor as Tulsi drops hints nobody saw coming. Buckle up, what follows makes reality TV look like a Sunday picnic. This isn't just politics. This is gossip cranked up to the next level.
There's irrefutable evidence that detail how President Obama and his national security team directed the creation of an intelligence community assessment that they knew was false. They knew it would promote this contrived narrative that Russia interfered in the 2016 election to help President Trump win, selling it to the American people as—
If you're enjoying this, make sure to hit subscribe. Helps more than you know. Now let's talk about Gavin Newsom, a man who spent years curating not just the role of California's governor, but almost its personal moisturizer. The slick-haired prince of the West Coast, juggling budget crises, wildfires, and photo ops at French Laundry dinners all, while flashing a grin fit for a shampoo commercial. And at the heart of that carefully staged image is his marriage. The polished proof he points to as evidence that beneath the ambition and the hair gel, he's really just a devoted family man.
Washington, Tulsi Gabbard is making waves. She's cutting through the deep state and taking bold actions where others have failed. While Newsom tweets, Tulsi acts, and the difference in leadership couldn't be clearer. California's governor is struggling to stay relevant, and DC's former congresswoman is proving that decisive action still matters in politics. California's in trouble, and Newsom's doing absolutely—
The problem with polished centerpieces is that one good tap reveals whether it's crystal or just cheap glass. Gavin Newsom has built his career on the idea that if people see a picture-perfect marriage, they'll overlook the smoke pouring out of Sacramento. His spouse isn't just a partner, she's been turned into a campaign accessory, a walking ad for stability. Every public kiss, every carefully staged holiday card, every parade appearance is fuel for the illusion. A flawless leader with a flawless home.
You know, I'm going to dive into something the left really doesn't want you to hear.
Californians themselves are going off on Gavin Newsom. Not talking heads, not politicians, everyday people who are sick of his lies. The gas prices, the crime, the homelessness, and now his shady little redistricting.
The story practically writes itself. A man wrestling with chaos at work, then retreating to a home life staged like a Hallmark movie. Enter Tulsi Gabbard storming in like she just walked off the set of an action film, with hypocrisy cast as the real villain. She doesn't tiptoe or soften her entrance. She slices straight through the polished facade, with the calm certainty of someone who's watched illusions crumble.
Together.
Have any Democrats indicated they're going to support you?
I won't speak for any senators.
They told you that?
I won't speak for any senators. I will allow them to make their own statements on their own account.
Have you heard concerns about experience within the intel sphere itself? We've heard concerns, like that from other senators. I'm just wondering if you've heard those things with your meetings from Democrats or others.
I don't want to disclose the contents of our conversations. My background on the Armed Services Committee and the Foreign Affairs Committees in Congress over 8 years, service in the military now for over—
Before, Tulsi doesn't need note cards or handlers. Her credibility comes through in how she speaks, acts, and tears down fakeds. Where most politicians sidestep uncomfortable truths, like they're too hot to touch, she grabs them with both hands and holds them up for all to see. While others treat politics like a Broadway show full of scripted lines and stagecraft, Tulsi rips down the velvet curtain, exposing the ropes and pulleys. She thrives on bursting bubbles, not with spin or clever soundbites, but with blunt honesty forged by real experience. So when she turned her focus on Gavin Newsom's marriage, the political equivalent of fine china, displayed on the top shelf, everyone braced for impact. Her goal wasn't cheap tabloid gossip. It was to shatter the fantasy that polished smiles equal credibility, to expose the gap between image and reality, and flood it with enough light that no one could ignore the shadows. For Gavin, that meant his marriage was no longer sacred ground, but fair game in the larger conversation about integrity, ambition, and the difference between what leaders sell and how they actually live. And
Today shows in great detail how they carried this out. They manufactured findings from shoddy sources. They suppressed evidence and credible intelligence that disproved their false claims. They disobeyed traditional tradecraft intelligence community standards and withheld the truth from the American people. In doing so, they conspired to subvert the will of the American people who elected Donald Trump in that election in November of 2016. They worked with their partners in the media to promote this lie, ultimately to undermine the legitimacy of President Trump and launching what would be a years-long coup against him.
And what an illusion it is. Newsom's marriage has been splashed across magazines and campaign ads, like the trailer for a Hollywood rom-com, complete with the smiling family, glamorous wife, polished values, and California's very own political love story. But every rom-com has a blooper reel, and Gavin's bloopers have been leaking for years. From the time he turned the mayor's office into a soap opera set affairs and whispers juicy enough to keep tabloids foaming to the collapse of his first marriage, which introduced the world to Kimberly Yes, the same Kimberly, now shrieking into microphones on Trump's stage like a banshee, auditioning for Broadway. But here's the point. This isn't about whether Gavin genuinely loves his wife. Nobody's interested in the details of his pillow talk. What Tulsi exposed was the hypocrisy of politicians parading their families as props, trotting out spouses and kids like mascots for character and values. Because, behind the curtain, the reality is almost always messier than a Thanksgiving dinner with the in-laws.
If Gavin Newsom is a popular governor in California, then please call me immediately. I'd like to talk to you about a bridge I have for sale. Also, I'd like to direct your attention toward this billboard. It's a photo of Gavin Newsom in a suit next to Butthead in a suit, and the resemblance is uncanny. And it says, "I'm Gavin. I destroyed California with my bad ideas." Yeah, but that's not all. It rotates. The Gavin and Butthead is just the first in many hilarious images that pop up on this billboard. The next one says, "Congratulations, Newsom. Highest gas prices in America."
It always comes back to the dramanon, thanks to Tulsi. Gavin Newsom's marriage just turned into the cliffhanger everyone's buzzing about.